Skrilla, how long have you lived here?
The animation is actually pretty decent.
Oh, well, you care. While you're over there in your land having fun, I'm out here suffering.
I'm so sorry.
But I care about you, Skrilla.
Yeah, now I do after you tried to kill me twice.
Where were you when I needed you, Eric?
Aww. Man, those expressions are so good. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Sorry about that. Hi there, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Eric. Nice to meet ya. For those of you who already know me, what's up, bro? So this is one of my cartoons that I made a few years ago. It is episode 3 of Secrets of the Dragon. Animation took me nearly a year to make. It took me nearly a year to make. It still blows my mind that I was able to get this far. And yet the animation is not as good as I would have wanted, but well, what can I say? I was still learning. But one thing that I thought of, my phone is buzzing, stop that please. This got me thinking, why don't I just do a video where I talk about the evolution of how my cartoons have changed over time? So which is why that I'm going to go through every single one of my cartoons that I've done, and I'm gonna explain key elements that changed my cartoons for the better. And to be completely honest, I'm actually really excited about this, because my cartoons are pretty interesting when it comes down to how they change throughout the years. This one was made in 2019, so that was about 3 years ago. Episode 4, I need to get it done. But, let's get through this, shall we? So that way, because I have dinner waiting for me. So the first ever cartoon that I made was on August 21st, 2016 for an episode of a video game that I played called Faily Breaks. And as you can see, it's not exactly decent or good by any means. Yeah, this was my first ever animation. It doesn't even qualify as a cartoon at this point. All it is just a really bad animatic. But anyway, this would be the first ever cartoon that I did. I don't really count it as a cartoon. I count it as maybe like an experiment that I did. And some things that I would like to point out about this animation is, first of all, it's incredibly simplified for what I was doing at the time. There's no shading, there's no hard lines, and the audio that I did, you know how I say thanks for watching? You for watching. Bye. I actually didn't record any audio for this. It's simply me standing over the camera recording this as I recorded my audio as I do this. Man, this cartoon is terrible, but you gotta remember, it was my first one, so I don't really count it as a cartoon by now. Instead, I count it as a experimental animation. So let's just, since this is the shortest animation I've ever made, let's just move on to the next one. This cartoon is special because it was my first actual, I guess, like, proper cartoon that I ever did at this point. In this case, the shading is non-existent, like I said, but this cartoon took me 6 hours to make. You gotta remember, I was still drawing on pencil and I was still drawing on paper with a pencil at this point. I was in my last 2 years of high school, so I didn't really know how to animate back then, but I was getting a feel for it, and as you can see, this cartoon is definitely a little bit better than my first one. This took me 6 hours to draw and animate, while it took me 30 minutes for the editing, and as you can see, I didn't know how to frame anything at this time, so again, things could have been better, but thankfully there's better stuff along the way. The next cartoon in my lineup is my 200 subscriber special. It's uploaded on June 24th, 2017, so almost a year after my 18th birthday one. And as you can see, the animation is a lot more smooth compared to my 18th birthday. Now, this is also the first time where we see Comet the Wolf, or in this case, my mom's character. And fun fact, I'm actually going to be making a video on Comet's history, and I'm going to go into detail on where she came from and the really interesting way that she appears in my cartoons now. So stay tuned for that. So as you can see, the animation here is definitely better. The shading is actually, you can see a little bit of shading, but the framing for my camera is still bad. You see, what I have is I have my phone hanging over the side of a box, pointed down at a piece of paper on a tray table that's supposed to be used for people who want to eat, say, on the couch or in bed, and that's what that white background is. I still have it, and I still use it for my cartoons to this day. And the framing is still bad, but the animation is better, so that's something, I guess. The animation and the quality has improved by this point. And this scene where the fidget spinner falls where this little container with a fidget spinner in it falls off these boxes is by far the best that I could have done at that point. And as you can see, my character's ears actually go back at this same point. So two different things are going on in this one shot at the same time. I'll improve on that later, as you can see. Now, the animation, like I said, gets better with time. So this was 2017, so this was around the same time that Secrets of the Dragon would come out. And speaking of that, we're getting closer and closer to SOTD. So let's continue on forward.
Cool.
Now we come to probably the one cartoon series that I guess you could say I actually put a lot of effort into at this point in time. Secrets of the Dragon Episode 1 was a Halloween special that I was supposed to get done by Halloween, but it ended up being nearly 2 months late, and it was uploaded on December 16th, 2017. And as you can see, the animation is much better compared to the previous videos that we've already seen, as well as this was my first ever attempt at a full-fledged animated story. You know how Walt Disney had his first ever animated feature-length film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Secrets of the Dragon was basically that, but for me. This was my first ever attempt at bringing a full story for my characters, instead of them just living their lives in Ericland like usual. So as you can see, the animation is smooth, there's actual shading, although it's very limited at this point. I mean, there's no gradients or whatever. Remember, 2017. I didn't know what I was doing back then, but moving on. This was also the first time where we get to meet Iskrilla the Dragon, and in fact, her story is so much more complicated now because I rewrote the story completely. Or my friend Alex helped me out with that. So this episode 1, A Mystery in the Woods, was by far one of the best animations that I could put out at the time. I believe it took me 6 months to make this whole thing. I had to draw out everything by hand, and then I had to animate it and get it on YouTube before Halloween, and unfortunately that didn't happen, so I guess it was alright that it got delayed by another month and a half? Maybe? Who knows. As you can see, the animation here is smooth. It also has... Okay, no offense to my previous self, but the animation could have been a lot faster. But remember, I was still using Movie Maker at this time. I don't use it anymore, but at the time this was the best that I could do. So there was improvements, but not as many as I would have liked. But for the time, this was groundbreaking, and I absolutely love coming back to this episode every now and then. I'm thinking, there are so many problems wrong, but it gets those problems and it does it right. Another thing worth mentioning is that I tried to do like transitions, kind of like the older cartoons do, but I didn't really know how to do it, so forgive me for that. But Secrets of the Dragon would pave the way for new cartoons to come after, and boy howdy is there a lot of improvements after. I'm so excited for the next couple of episodes. Alrighty, so the next animation that I would do was on July 29, 2018, and this one was an experiment to say the least. It was my first ever attempt at using Adobe Flash / Animate. I'm not really sure why it's called Animate, but a lot of people still call it Flash, so this was my first ever attempt at using Flash, and as you can see, it's pretty alright. I mean, there's no in-betweens or anything like that. I tried figuring, well, what if I use the same stuff that the professionals on YouTube use? So I got a 7-day free trial, and this is what I came up with. And by the way, I drew this with a mouse. Note to all potential animators here on YouTube, don't use a mouse for for drawing anything. It'll look really bad. Instead, I honestly wish that I had like a drawing pad or something like that, like all the professionals use. Shout outs to Alan Becker, who makes a lot of awesome animations. I intend on reacting to them eventually. So, as you can see, the animation here is pretty alright. I mean, this was an experiment, and it was my first time using this kind of technology. So this was the best that I could do since I'm very new to this. But anyway, yeah, there's not really much to say here other than this was an experiment. So let's just move forward. Now we reach the Snowball Effect, which was a holiday special that I made that I actually got to show in an art class that I was doing when I was doing my first semester of college, and it was released on December 12th, 2018. It's only 3.5 minutes long, but you gotta remember, I did this for a class. Well, actually, no, I didn't do it for a class, I lie. This cartoon I actually wanted to show to my class and to my art professor, who I still remember. If you're watching this, hi! So this cartoon is 3.5 minutes long, and as you can see, the animation is slow, but that's what I kind of sacrificed. I sacrificed speed for story, and so in this case, the animation is much, much better. The line work is a lot sharper, and the shading, oh my goodness, the shading looks so good. And also the expressions, way better. And by the way, the the Santa hat that I wear, that my character wears, I actually have that same Santa hat in real life. So, for those of you who have seen me at Disneyland during the Christmas season, you've probably seen me wearing that hat. And so, there's a little Easter egg for you. Another thing worth mentioning is that the snowball that you see falling on me here is actually an entire sheet of paper that I cut into a teardrop shape. Granted, I wish that the animation here could have been a lot faster, but what can I say? This is the best that I could do in such a short time period. And I remember there was this one student in the back row when I showed this to my class. They said, "That's it?" And I was like, "What do you mean that's it?" So anyway, this cartoon is definitely better. My colors are more vibrant. Oh, and by the way, the little stick figure in the back with Comet, that's actually a friend of mine. I don't remember her name, but I remember she was in my art class. So if you're watching this, hi! Moving on!